Hello there, and welcome back to another video of the Twilight Imperium 4 browser app series. In today's video, we're going to be going over the 11th faction to make its way into the browser app, and that's the Xxcha Kingdom. I'm not entirely sure about the exact pronunciation of the faction. I know some people like to say Xxcha. I say Cha, but to each their own. So, with this faction here, we have a lot of interesting abilities and technologies that we'll be showcasing in today's video. So we'll start here on the faction sheet. We can see we have the flagship here, the Loncara Ssodu. And this is basically going to act as a mobile PDS. So when we're activating systems and we're moving our flagship around, or even not moving it around, if our flagship happens to be adjacent to or in the active system, we're going to be able to use our space cannon here. Well, space cannon times 3 with hits on rolls of 5. So we'll see that towards the later end of the video. Okay, so for faction abilities, we have Peace Accords. And this reads that after we resolve the primary or secondary ability of diplomacy, then we're able to gain, or we may gain control of one planet other than Mechatol Rex that does not contain any units and is in a system that is adjacent to a planet we control. But then we also have Quash, which is agenda specific. So when an agenda is revealed, if we do happen to have strategy tokens available, we can discard one in order to discard that agenda and then reveal the next one to vote on. So those are the faction abilities. And for the faction technologies, we'll see those when we hop into the pre-made game. I'm just going to also go over to the lore sheet here, just to see our starting units and our starting tech. So we start with Graviton Laser System. And here we have 1 carrier, 2 cruisers, 3 fighters, 4 infantry, 1 space dock, and 1 PDS. Alright, so heading on over to our pre-made game here. Playing as the Xxcha Kingdom. And the first thing we're going to do is showcase one of our faction abilities. And we're gonna do Peace Accords first. So the diplomacy ability. So we have diplomacy in our hand, and we'll go ahead and activate it. So already 2 planets, and then perhaps we'll select our home system. So we'll resolve that. And now here's, I guess, the first new kind of deviation of how faction abilities are played in the app. So typically, in all previous videos in the Faction Spotlight series, faction abilities, if they were not passive, you basically go over to your faction info tab here. Right, you'd find your faction, you find your tab, so we're Alice. You click the blue button, and there's usually a use button here. But for Peace Accords, this isn't the case, and that's because it's a little more involved in terms of what the user has to do. And so you're gonna go through this actually on the main display here. So first thing you might want to do is utilize the help button. If you're not sure, the turn display is telling you to resolve the Peace Accords ability, but if you're new to the app or just forget in general, you can click the help button. So we'll take a look here. How do I select a planet for peace accords? So click on the system that contains the planet you wish to select. Then, on the enlarged hexagon, click that planet. Click another planet to change your choice. Click the green check mark to proceed to confirm your selection. So if we just try to click the green check mark right away, we haven't selected a planet yet. So we actually do get told to click the help button here for more info. But we also have the ability to pass if we want. We don't have to use peace accords, but we won't pass here because we want to show how to use it. So remember, with peace accords, we can take any planet that's adjacent to ones we control that isn't Mechatol Rex and doesn't contain any enemy units. So, here we're playing as the blue player, so we're in quite a few systems here. So, well, let's see. First of all, we're adjacent to Mechatol Rex, so let's see that the game does not allow us to select that. So Mechatol Rex cannot be taken with peace accords. Very good. What about these planets, right? Well, these planets contain these enemy units. So if we try to click them, we can't do it. Now, we could click a planet like up here, say lore, and the game will actually allow us to select lore temporarily. But the thing is, once we go to confirm our choice, we're actually going to be told that this is an invalid selection, and that's because we control no planets adjacent to this system, right? So if I try to do this, we get invalid planet selected. You do not control any planets adjacent to lore. So we have to choose a planet adjacent to a planet we control. So we don't actually control any planets here, so we can't choose any of these planets, but we have these 4 planets here. So maybe we want to take Lodor in the Alpha Wormhole system. So let's do that. All right, and then confirming our choice. So Lodor is taken, and we can see it shows up in our planets, and also we have our control token there on the board. Okay, and so that's an intermediate step here. When diplomacy gets resolved by the Xxcha Kingdom, there will be that intermediate step where other players will wait for that to resolve. And now you can see the regular game flow continues. So we'll get the other players here to pass. Okay. So we'll pass to end our turn. And yeah, so that's peace accords. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we're actually going to show off one of the faction technologies now. And we'll start with Nullification Field. So, what is Nullification Field? After another player activates a system that contains one or more of our ships, we may exhaust this card and spend 1 token from our strategy pool. Immediately end that player's turn. So, okay, a couple of things here. This doesn't really change anything in terms of ability rounds, because whenever you activate another player's system, it was always going to be the case that it was going to go into an ability round, right? But the other thing here is that this will immediately end the player's turn, and that's kind of something new to the app. Now, I believe they'll still get the chance to pass. I think, but we'll see when we do it. Yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and go over to Bob's tab here. I know you can't see this right now, but I'll just get Bob to go ahead and activate a system. Okay, so what happened? Bob activated the Melon Zobat system. So where's that? Well, we can see it right there on the board flashing. So that indeed has one of our ships. And so we should be able, when it comes to our turn, to resolve an ability to play, excuse me, to play Nullification Field. But we'll get everyone else to pass on this ability round first. Okay. So now, because Bob has activated a system that contains one or more of our ships, we can play Nullification Field by double-clicking it. And we'll be asked to confirm our choice to end the active player's turn. And we'll do that. Yeah, so Nullification Field gets played, and the turn's just immediately over. There isn't even a chance to, like, you have to pass to end your turn. And that's important because a card like Fleet Logistics then can't be played to perform another action, or being able to trade, can't do that. Yeah, so that's Nullification Field. You can see the turn display just went straight to perform an action for us right after Bob's turn was immediately ended. All right, so I'm going to do a quick refresh here of the browser because I just updated something really quick. And then we'll get on to the next technology. And we're going to now showcase instinct training. So instinct training actually added quite a fair bit more complexity to the game in terms of just what's going on underneath the hood. There's nothing really new about it for the user interface, so you don't have to worry about that. But it was definitely a bit of a challenge here, getting instinct training into the game. So, the instinct training, we may exhaust this card and spend one token from our strategy pool when another player plays an action card, and then we can cancel that card. So what's interesting about this card is it's actually the only card in the game that can cancel a sabotage. Right? Sabotages are typically seen as the king of action cards, the most sought after, but the Xxcha Kingdom have this unique ability to even cancel sabotages. And that's exactly what we're going to showcase here. So it's our turn to perform an action, and we have one action card, Rise of Messiah, component action. So we're going to see how that works now. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to play. We're going to play Rise of the Messiah. So we'll select, let's say, let's pick one of our home planets. Say we'll pick Archon Ren, and then we'll double click that card. And we'll confirm. All right, so now we get over to Bob, who's going to be resolving an ability, and he's going to try to sabotage our action card. So Bob's going to sabotage. And now Charlie will pass on his ability round, and they'll come back to us, right? So here's where instinct training can be played to sabotage, well, sorry, not sabotage, but just cancel the sabotage card. And now, actually here, right, it works the same way as sabotage. You get a little drop-down menu to choose which action card you want to cancel. So we'll click sabotage, click OK. We'll confirm that. And now we can see that we've used instinct training and the effects of sabotage have been cancelled. Checking the game log, that's indeed the case. And now it will get back to Bob here. We'll pass. Charlie will pass. And once we pass, the component action card should resolve. So let's just see here. Right now we have 2 infantry on Archon Red. So when we pass, yeah, and now we have 3. And we'll end our turn. All right. Great. Okay. So we'll get Bob to pass here, or rather, oh yeah, we'll get Bob to pass here. Okay. Now there's a slight something I just have to modify quickly before we get on to the flagship. But yeah, I'll just bring up the flagship here. There it is. So yeah, as I was alluding to earlier in the video, Flagship basically acts as a mobile PDS. So when we move it into other systems, or even using it defensively, as long as we're adjacent to or even in the active system, we'll be able to use this ability here. So for the sake of keeping the video not as long as it needs to be, we're not going to actually go into a combat. I'm just going to actually show the functionality here of the Loncara Ssodu by activating the system, but not actually moving ships into it. So let's go ahead and activate this system, since our flagship is indeed adjacent to it. And we'll get the other players to pass on the ability rounds as well. All right. So we'll choose not to move ships, like I said. And now we actually get right into the perform space cannon offense abilities. All right. So we're rolling 3 dice to hit on 5. And we'll check the game log here to see those 2 hits. So Alice rolled dice for space cannon offense and produced 2 hits. And we can see that all 3 of them are indeed from our flagship right there. All right, so let's go ahead and just get let's get Bob to just assign these hits. That way we can move on to the final faction ability here. All right, yeah, and then we can just end our turn. The hits were assigned to both ships. And I have to just refresh the browser one more time because of the way I set this game up. I set it up with a bit of a bug, but that has been fixed. Alright, so we'll pass the remainder of the round, which will take us into the status phase. And we're not going to be scoring any objectives for anybody. We do want to get to the agenda phase so we can showcase off the final faction ability, which will be Quash. Right. Quash is pretty straightforward, I suppose. We'll be able to see what the agenda is and then decide if we want to cancel it or not. Alright, so we have an agenda is revealed. It's Terraforming Initiative. And right now we're in the ability round to resolve an ability when an agenda is revealed. So if we go over to our faction info tab, and we see that Quash indeed begins with when an agenda is revealed. So pretty much matches the exact wording here of the turn display. So what we can do is we can spend 1 token from our strategy pool, and we can just discard this agenda and reveal the next one. And we could do this as much as we want until we run out of strategy tokens. So let's just take a look, see our agenda here. Terraforming initiative, right? And now when we go into our faction info tab, player info, Quash, using Quash, so we'll confirm. Alice used the Quash faction ability to discard the active agenda. A new agenda has been revealed, Seed of an Empire, and we can see here that it has been replaced. We could do this again. And there's now we have Archive Secret. We could do it again. We can keep going, basically, until we run out of strategy tokens. Right, so we're down to 1. We can Quash again. And now if we try to Quash this time, we can't because we're finally out of tokens. And the madness is over. Alright. Yeah, so let's Quash and then just carry on with the typical flow of the agenda. Okay. Alright. I believe that covers everything. Piece of Chords, Nullification Field, Instinct Training, the Loncara, Ssodu, and Quash. So that's the 11th faction now, which brings us to 11 out of 17 for the standard TI4. I think next we'll be working on implementing more cards before we start working on the next faction. Most likely. Yeah, another thing, if you're currently part of the Discord channel, we recently put in a document, or rather a few documents that show you what's currently implemented and what's not. So I'll be updating the faction table for that to include the Xxcha now. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and your future games, if you do get the Xxcha, hope you enjoy them. Again, if there's anything that you notice in terms of bugs, things of that nature, please let me know. Leave a comment down below or message in the Discord. Yeah, that's going to be it for now. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.